casually talk.
That's exactly what we
meeting
do.
podcast.
Everybody talk at the same time. That's how we start. Good job. We're great. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Greater Meeting Podcast. As always, I am your host, Andrew, here with my co-host, Nathan.
I am Nathan.
And Josh.
Ending it with the J. What's up, guys?
Technically, his name starts with a J, but yeah, his name is... And together, we're here excited to bring you another episode of the stories of the Bible brought to you in chronological order from beginning to the end. In last week's episode, we followed Jacob, one of the major patriarchs of the Bible, as he deceptively stole his older brother Esau's blessing. When Esau made his intention of ending Jacob's life known and kind of spread it out, Rebekah, Jacob's mother, sent Jacob to stay with her brother Laban. However, Jacob himself was swindled into marrying two of Laban's daughters while he was there, even though he only loved one of them, Rachel and Leah. Leah was the one he was kind of swindled into marrying. As we continue the story of Jacob, tensions in his life continue to grow as his wives compete for his affections. His new father-in-law throws more obstacles in his path. And it seems that Jacob is fighting to find peace in any aspect of his life.
Why you just give away the whole episode?
It's the Bible. There's no spoilers.
There are spoilers.
You read all that.
I wrote all that.
Well, I always thought you were making that stuff up on the spot.
Well, I try to prepare a little bit.
So we're going over Abraham, right?
Gosh.
No, this actually is going to be an amazing episode. This is going to be...
If you're looking for rom-com and suspense thrillers, this is it. This is the story right here. The story of Jacob is so profoundly inspiring to my life.
Inspiring, huh? How so, Josh?
It's just stealing birthrights. And, well, actually, I am the oldest,
that.
so I'd be
He has a
stealing
lot of
my
kids.
own birthright.
Yeah,
I do. I am also very hairy. Very hairy man. I am. Sam, I am hairy.
So does that mean Gabe stole your blessing and inheritance? Your younger brother, or
dude better show up with like 200 camels, 200 donkeys.
Hey, we're spoiling the future events here. Let's slow down.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, but Jacob's life in seriousness, this is like, it's so filled of like drama and like
now you see why his name later gets, this is obviously a spoiler, but he becomes Israel, right?
Yeah.
So if you pay attention, especially even in this episode,
backwards, forwards, let's just do that.
Where do I start reading? In the beginning.
If you as a listener start to really pay attention to all the little details that go on in this story, you start to see why he is even called Israel later on, that his life becomes a foreshadowing event on how Israel is kind of going to be played out. The struggles and the success.
He's extremely important and significant. It's even the name Israel, which his name will be changed to, will be the name that marks the nation and the peoples that will continue from them. His direct children will be used to make the tribes. And that's actually where we're going to get started. With Jacob's children, this is where we're going to start to begin to fulfill the promise that God made to Abraham, where he's going to make him a nation, right? Through the children, the sons, but it's not going to come very easily. Like everything in Jacob's life is always a struggle. From his birth, he's fighting with his brother, clutching his heel, and it's just going to get worse. It's extremely intriguing. There's so much to cover in this episode. So we're going to
I must ask, if he didn't steal his brother's birthright, would his life have been easier?
Probably. But here's the thing. He did steal it, but at the same time, it was foretold by God. So did he really,
Good thing that the Ten Commandments weren't in place yet.
Yeah, that means that we could just do whatever we want, right?
Isn't that crazy? God timed this all out perfectly. So like later on when the listeners when the people would be reading the stories, they're like, you can't catch me. You can't catch me in contradiction. No.
What's funny is that a lot of the things that they do naturally that God guides them to do will be later instituted as official law. But you'll see that that's part of like even Jacob and the rest of the story. But let's get into it. We're covering quite a bit. We're going to get to the climax of Jacob's life today. Nathan, if you could start us off, we're finishing Genesis chapter 29, starting with verses 31 to 35 with the first couple children that Jacob has.
When the Lord saw that Leah was unloved, he opened her womb, but Rachel was barren. So Leah conceived and bore a son, and she called his name Reuben, for she said, "The Lord has surely looked on my affliction. Now therefore my husband will love me." Then she conceived again and bore a son, and said, "Because the Lord has heard that I am unloved, he has therefore given me this son also." And she called his name Simeon. Simeon. I don't know why I mispronounced that one. She conceived again and bore a son and said, "Now this time my husband will become attached to me because I have borne him 3 sons. Therefore his name was called Levi." And she conceived again and bore a son and said, "Now I will praise the Lord." Therefore she called his name Judah. Then she stopped bearing.
Man, it's just, first of all, thank you, Nathan, for always, having the names down pat. I feel bad for Leah. Leah, again, was the older sister that Jacob was tricked into marrying and sleeping with that first night. And now we can see that God looked at this situation, and even though it was kind of a devising of her father, he still had mercy on her. It's just funny. I don't know. Every time I read it, it kind of cracks me. It's like she was unloved,
Seems like she was loved quite a bit.
It's unloved, but not untouched. You know what I mean? Like Jacob did find his way around there. I don't know. Like if he really did love her, he definitely still was able to have kids with her.
I mean, it was an open gate, and he just had to walk through the gate.
That's a very interesting way to put that. Sleeping with his wife.
I mean, wasn't really his choice, right? Like it was given to him.
Yeah, but it's very clear. Like even the children, the way she names them, it's very significant. It's funny because like the third kid, now my husband will probably love me. Hopefully, I had another son for him. Levi, and then the Simeon's name meant because the Lord has heard I am unloved. Like it's very sad. Like it was a very carnal relationship. He was fulfilling his husbandly duties, but there obviously you see the importance of like, for example, Isaac is said that he loved his wife, Rebecca, right? And that relationship, imagine having to be tied to somebody and you don't love them at all, but you're still going through the motions. You have kids, and a lot of people find themselves in that situation. In relationships where there's no love and they kind of got married for one reason or another, or because it made sense, or because they were influenced by their parents. I mean, love in itself is a very modern concept. Like back in the day, actually throughout most of human history, it was more of like arranged by the parents and the families, and it was something political or something for gain. And having a love match, quote unquote, is not always something that happened. But we see that God is merciful,
and when Jacob shows up and says, "I want to work for that girl right there, your daughter," it kind of clearly shows that this is something, that he wants that one, in specifically that girl, Rachel, So 7 years goes by, right? And then he's offered the other daughter. And that's something that's really a great word choice. Thanks, Josh. Beguiled. That's something that's beguiled my brain. And well, he could have said no. That's the interesting thing. But he couldn't have, right? Because he got tricked.
Because it was consummated. It was like consummated official, like this is your property.
She's your wife, and then he finds out the next day after they've already had the dirty deed, right?
The consummation.
Yeah, the consummation. The constipation of consummations.
I mean, the way I look at the text is he was doing his husbandly duty with his wife, and they had kids.
Yeah, but it's just...
we can obviously see that Leah was definitely obsessed with him, because I think she might have introduced the topic to her father, being like, "Hey, I'm not married." And after seeing 7 years of this hardworking, sweaty man tending to the flocks, sorry.
I decided to watch where we're going with that. I mean, she's the older sister. It's not right in the culture for her to have gotten married.
She probably got
Rachel to get
it.
married
You're
before
right.
her.
Yeah,
But
yeah. But
needless
I'm
to
just
say,
saying,
that's going back in the
she
last
found some
episode.
affection for him. She found affection for him.
Obviously, there was
right.
There was some attraction. I mean, Jacob obviously, was marital with her constantly. But as we go into the next chapter, we see like this whole Rachel was barren, and again, you have that trope come up again, like the chosen one, the one that was his actual wife, if you want to look at it in that sense, where he actually loved her more. She was barren, and I don't know if God just made her barren because she was. I don't think she was being punished, but it's interesting to note. But Rachel really doesn't like that. Nathan, if you read the first couple verses in chapter 30, as we continue, we see that this creates a little bit of a problem in Jacob's house. One that Jacob doesn't seem to have a problem with, but this next section is very interesting. Nathan, if you could continue.
Now, when Rachel saw that she bore Jacob no children, Rachel envied her sister, and she said to Jacob, "Give me children, or else I die." And Jacob's anger was aroused against Rachel and said, "Am I in the place of God who has withheld you from the fruit of the womb?" Fruit of the loom.
No.
So she said, "Here is my maid Bilhah.
Bilhah.
Go into her, and she will bear a child on my knees, that I also may have children by her." Then she gave him Bilhah, her maid, as wife, and Jacob went into her. Wow, that's such a strange way to structure that.
They have to.
And Bilhah conceived and bore Jacob a son. And Rachel said, "God has judged my case, and he has also heard my voice and given me a son." Therefore, she called his name Dan.
Yeah, I'm not going to have Nathan read the whole chapter, but what happens is...
Dan. That's definitely a child that's not loved.
What are you talking about?
Dan.
Everybody
Dan
has
was
super
loved.
like old Hebrew names, and then there's Dan.
There's Dan.
Well, Dan means God has judged my case, and he also heard my voice and given me a son. It's very
I
interesting.
know.
So
Dan's mom was Bilhah.
Bilhah, the maid of Rachel, also conceived a second son, and then was named Naphtali. And it's very, we remember the story with Abraham when Sarah came to him and was like, "Oh, have my servant Hagar and have a child." And we saw how that was like. There was a lot of like tension and resentment between Sarah and Hagar. But Rachel was just like, "I win." Like she took it and adopted it. There was no struggle there. There was no dissatisfaction. Like she just was like, "Yes, I win here."
Leah has a son named Gad.
Dude, do you not know the names of the children of the tribes of Israel?
Gad.
Okay.
Like God.
No, it's Gad.
Yeah, it's fun.
Ooh,
Anyway,
Gad.
so yeah, we had Dan, God has judged my case, and Naphtali, she named it, and that name means, "With great wrestlings, I've wrestled my sister." And
Do you not know the names of the children tribes of Israel? Like, no, I'm sorry.
I mean, the children, these are all very, and the reason I'm stopping on each name and saying the meaning, because these are going to make the tribes of Israel. They're very important. They're very significant.
I get that.
Their personalities are going to come
I
up.
know of Israel and the Jews.
Okay, this is where they come from specifically. So Naphtali and Dan were married or were born through Bilhah, Rachel's servant. And Rachel's using this as like a victory. She literally names like, "I've wrestled with my sister and indeed I have prevailed. Like I won. Like I have 2 kids now," but she still hasn't had her own kids. And what's so funny here is from verses 9 through 13, there's like this competition that starts happening in this household, right? Jacob now has 2 wives, and each of those have a maidservant. And Leah claps back with her maidservant, Zilpah, and tells Jacob to sleep with her because, remember, she had her couple kids, and now she can't have kids anymore.
So there's Leah
There's Leah
and Rachel. And then Rachel's maidservant Bilhah. And then Leah's maidservant Zilpah.
Yes. So there's 4 women.
And this is a competition that Jacob clearly wins. He's winning in all aspects of everything.
There's no comments from Jacob in this place other than like, "I can't open the womb. You just blame God." You know what I mean? But Gad, Zilpah bears 2 children, 2 sons, which is Leah's maidservant again. And Gad means a troop comes. So at this point, there's a lot of children. It's like we have a straight up like little group. And Asher, and Asher means I am happy that the daughters will call me blessed, because at this point she has like, what is this, a ton of sons, 6 sons.
Wonder how many daughters, they
1,
had
2,
as
3,
well.
4.
They probably had
They don't even count the daughters. That's what's funny.
No, they don't.
They count one of them.
We see later on that there definitely is there are daughters, and
There are. That's significant.
It's interesting to think, like, man, how many times are these servants and them, like, how many times do they conceive? Because we only see the sons, but we don't see the daughters. And
I mean, Jacob's just going to work at this point. He's working for Laban and he's working for his wives. But imagine just the stress, because Jacob's work life, and we're going to get into this why here in a second, that's not going well. He's usually stressed out and dealing with some hardships and some trickery. And he goes home and there's just this Game of Thrones like political, like, just arguing and infighting that's like, plotting that's happening behind him. And he's just like, who am I sleeping with tonight? And they're all like, it's just like, what's going on here?
Like, dude, I work for Rachel. Like, you other 3, I don't need this.
No, he didn't say nothing. He just kind of continued. And then Nathan, if you could...
Poor Jacob.
Then we kind of continue, and it gets even more interesting. Nathan, if you could read verses 14 through 17.
Now Reuben went in the days of wheat harvest and found mandrakes in the field and brought them to his mother Leah. Then Rachel said to Leah, "Please give me some of your son's mandrakes." But she said to her, "Is it a small matter that you have taken away my husband? Would you take away my son's mandrakes also?" And Rachel said, "Therefore he will lie with you tonight for your son's mandrakes."
Stop saying it like that.
When Jacob came out of the field in the evening, Leah went out to meet him and said, "You must come in to me, for I have surely hired you with my son's mandrakes." And he lay with her that night.
Okay.
I mean, it just sounds wildly inappropriate.
No, it doesn't.
What is a mandrake?
Okay,
because that's give me your son's mandrakes. Like, what, dude?
I never thought about that till right now. Like, in this whole time studying, I never thought mandrakes was inappropriately sounding. But
it does sound. I'm the one reading it.
It's. I like to call this little section the mandrake purchase. This is. I mean, the competition at this point between the two wives has gotten to the point where, like, Leah and Rachel are just trying to find any in to kind of.
Please explain what a mandrake is before anything.
All right, so
mandrakes
are these like root. They're like usually found. They're like forked roots that grow. Sometimes they resemble almost like a human body. In the ancient world, mandrakes were considered like an aphrodisiac and commonly prepared and eaten as like a fermented drug, and also something that helps like with the joints, and it could treat rheumatoid arthritis in the early ancient world. Many refer to mandrakes in folklore and superstition. Sorry, a bug flew in my eye. They refer to them in like folklore as like superstitious. They can turn into creatures. They're very weird. I had a little picture here in my notes. They look like straight up like a root vegetable with like little berry things that come up on it. And they would grow in the field during the wheat harvest sometimes. It's kind of like special to find them. And Reuben, I mean, he would have only been like 5 or 6 at this point. So maybe he thought they were interesting looking or they were different. So he would like pick them and he brought them to his mom, which is kind of sweet. But Rachel, knowing that they're like an aphrodisiac, meaning that there's something that can
help them have kids, she's like begging Leah for him, and Leah just snaps back, which is like, is it not enough that you stolen my husband? But it's like, did she really steal her husband, or did Leah steal Rachel's husband by kind of tricking into her? What do you think, Josh?
It's such a weird and cringy like scenario that we got. It's very rom-com type of scenario where you got the husband and he's married to two sisters. It's just your average story, and
it's like Three's Company. Come and knock on our door. We've been waiting for you.
Thank you for that. But for the son to show up with the mandrakes and then the two, the mom's like, "Oh, thank you for that. I'm going to give him to my husband, and he's going to owe me one." And then Rachel's being like, "Oh, can I have some mandrakes? I'd like to, also kind of give him something. She's like, no, how dare you? You've stolen my blessing, and now you try to steal from my children. How dare you do this? So it's definitely a very interesting scenario. But
It's
you are right
definitely a
about the
very
whole
uncomfortable
Mandrake
situation.
Well, yeah, I mean, mandrakes, like how you even said, there was that folklore that they do something to your body where it helps with like even the whooping cough, and I don't know why I threw that in there, but it was kind of like a medicinal type of flower.
The whooping cough?
What is that?
It's a type of cough that they call
you don't know
whooping cough.
When you have
Is that the one with the hole in the chest?
I don't know.
They get that
it's
hole?
it can be very serious for like babies.
And if the baby has it, the baby has a hole.
I didn't know that. That's crazy.
Yeah. The doctors ask you at the hospital, hey, do you want a shot for the kid for whooping cough?
Yeah.
I've had one daughter, and I don't remember that at all. But that's wild.
You had other things in your mind.
The craziest part about this story is like Leia kind of working in a deal to where like Rachel allows Jacob to sleep with her. He's like, I'll give him to you if you let me get some of Jacob. You know what I mean? And then like Jacob has no say in this. And you can kind of see that I guess at this point, Jacob has been preferring Rachel and hasn't spending any time with Leia because this is like something she wanted to do. And she comes and Leia went on the field to meet Jacob. It was like, you must come into me for I have hired you. Like, what is going on here? They're just straight purchasing him and time with him. And not only that, but it says God listened to Leia and she conceived and bore Jacob a fifth son through Leia. Obviously, you have two others through her servant, but Leia, and he's named this other son Issachar. And then she conceived, I guess, after laying with him one time.
You don't know how to pronounce it, all right,
And then another one.
Then Leah conceived again and bore Jacob a sixth son. Leah said, God was endowed me with good endowment. Now my husband will dwell with me because I have borne him 6 sons.
Yeah. What's his name?
She called him Zebulun.
Oh, that's actually pretty good. Zebulun.
Zebulun.
Issachar was kind of harder at first, okay? It was harder than Zebulun. But yeah, the Lord has given me my wages because I have given my maid to my husband. So that obviously was something hard for Leia to do. You can see that she did that in a moment of emotion to try to keep up with Rachel. Because even though she at that point had a bunch of other sons and children, Rachel would like, you could almost see Jacob happier that this child is in her tent and he was raising them, you know? Wait till Rachel actually conceives and bears the next figure of our major storytelling adventures.
Back to the mandrakes.
Then God remembered Rachel, and God listened to her and opened her womb. And she conceived and bore a son, and said, God has taken away my reproach.
That's right.
So she called his name Joseph.
That's a big one.
And said, the Lord shall add to me another son.
That's right. And so that's like the first one born from Rachel, actually Rachel, not through, even though she's been considering the other children of her maid, her children, Joseph was the only one that was from her. And it was
just because you're last doesn't mean you're least.
Definitely not in Jacob's house. Joseph was kind of the favorite boy, and that's going to be a little bit of a problem here in the future for the family. It's not going to get easier.
Joseph was kind of low-key obnoxious.
All right, we're going to get into Joseph's going to have his whole...
I had a dream you all bowed to me! Like, so obnoxious.
We're going to get there. It's a couple episodes away, but this is the birth.
What? Go work.
No. Jacob kept him in the tent and taught him just like Jacob was in the tent.
You shall bow to me. All right. That's fine.
But yeah, this is
mandrakes. I want to add one more thing to mandrakes.
Okay, tell us more about the mandrakes.
So mandrakes actually were also mandrakes is brought up again with King Solomon, and Solomon, I guess it was known at that time where if you provide mandrakes into a scenario, it kind of brings an atmosphere of intimacy. Can I help you?
No, you're good. I was just showing Jacob
He showed me a picture of mandrakes.
I was showing
pictures very odd. I don't want to see that.
Well, basically, a lot of times they would basically use mandrakes as a fragrance. It's supposed to smell good and do stuff like that. So
First
I
thing
guess
that
it's
pops up
supposed
when
to
you
help you get in the mood. Probably, I don't know. So
It's an
that's a little more.
aphrodisiac. I've mentioned that. That's what that does. It gets you in the mood.
Yeah, but
You know what
not
else?
everybody knows the word aphrodisiac. Okay, I'm sorry.
That's why I literally explained, or in other words, something that makes you bear, like helps bearing children. Essentially, gets you in the mood, helps with the actual consummation process.
We're saying a lot of words to just say it helps you get it on.
Get it on, essentially, and it's
It's like a ancient Viagra.
or blue chew,
Thank
Well, I
you.
guess 'cause the name
Yeah,
is Blue Chew.
blue chews nowadays.
There you go. It's like the tried and true thing, though. If you got to think about it, they're mandrakes.
Mandrakes.
They don't just mess around.
Man,
Apparently-
man,
apparently they're
with
pretty easy to
mandrakes.
find.
Ruben just stumbles upon him in the field and brings him over to his wife.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why they were getting it on so much, is because they lived in a field of mandrakes.
So they just had
Maybe if they
mandrakes
didn't
everywhere.
live
Oh,
there, yeah.
It had nothing to do with Jacob just wanting to sleep with 4 women.
Like that too. Like 4 women, a bunch of mandrakes. What is this that you put in the food?
What
So good.
is this? A potato? It's a little crunchier.
I must say that you're lovely this evening.
Smells good in here.
Let me just use this as another opportunity to say is that we see polygamy come up in the Bible often, and we have yet to see it do good and work out. It's kind of like communism. You know what I mean? Like everyone,
What?
Huh?
you know,
What?
it never works out when in
That's
practice.
nothing. There's no way. You're not connecting that dot.
I'm
Polygamy and communism.
I don't know why. I was just
It's like communism. It never works out if the factory worker has the power. What, dude? What are you talking about?
I don't know. Just it's not good. Don't marry one
All right.
woman.
Moving past.
Let's continue. So yeah, Jacob's home life is a bit strenuous and tenuous, if you will, at the moment. And we're going to see, like I mentioned earlier, his work life isn't doing great either. But at this point, Jacob has a whole slew of kids. He's done well for himself. And Genesis chapter 30, verses 25 through 43, bring up a little bit of an agreement that he has with Laban. So
And it can, I'm not. That's a lot of.
no,
Reading.
you're just reading 25 to 29, verses 25 to 29.
43. That's like all right.
I'm
25.
reading all those verses.
All right. And it came to pass when Rachel had borne Joseph that Jacob said to Laban, "Send me away that I may go to my own place and to my country."
Stop saying the name so weird.
I'm not doing it on purpose. I promise you.
Laban. It's
Laban.
Laban. You know it's Laban.
Give me my wives and my children, for whom I have served you, and let me go, for you know my service which I have done for you. And Laban said to him, "Please stay, if I have found favor in your eyes, for I have learned my experience, and that the Lord has blessed me for your sake." Then he said, "Name me your wages, and I will give it." So Jacob said to him, "You know how I have served you, and how your livestock has been with me. For what you had before I came was little, and it has increased to a great amount. The Lord has blessed you since my coming, and now when shall I also provide for my own house?" So he said, "What shall I give you?" This is a lot of reading.
Okay, let me just, so
We're not stopping.
I told you to read from 25 to 29.
I know, but,
And then- but-
it doesn't make sense.
I'm going
stopping there.
to continue here. So Jacob obviously wants to separate and leave Laban's house where he has been working. Remember, he worked for him for his wife, second wife, and now he's still been there. And imagine how much time has passed to have like so many kids up until this point. But Laban, obviously saying that the work of Jacob's hands is blessed, has gained and benefited greatly from it. He had been growing in sheep and flock and pretty much the way they calculate wealth. But, Laban has also been cheating Jacob and changing his methods of payment. And kind of like, as we see him, not only with his wife, imagine what he's been doing with his paychecks. But in verses 31 to 36, Jacob was kind of weary of Laban's deceit, but agreed to stay on one condition. Jacob's wages would be all the speckled and spotted goats and sheep, as well as every black lamb. So this is interesting, and it's unusual because they were usually in the vast minority of what was born from the flock. And
What was an investment minority?
the spotted and the unpure sheep and
What
the
does that mean,
striped.
spotted?
So that means if you have a white lamb, you have a lamb that's like black, or you'll have a goat born that has like a bunch of spots, like brown in their fur. You know what I mean? And they look different. They're not clean coated.
So those are
worth a little bit less, and they're also a little bit more
because they have spots.
Yeah, because the wool and they shape.
And all the spotted ones were Jacob's.
Well, that's what he's like. I'll tend your sheep one more time, and then when they come, the next essential harvest of them, the ones that are born that way, which are the minority, I'll take those, and that will be my payment.
So there's not that many spotted ones.
Yes, Nathan. There's not that many. He's getting paid less.
I'm just trying for you to clarify it because you say it kind of fast and it's kind of confusing.
I'm sorry.
Like none of us are sheep herders, dude. I don't know what you're talking about.
We're all shepherds here. We can make it work. Tell me about the sheep, Josh.
So we got the perfect sheep and the imperfect sheep, right? That's basically the moral of the story. I mean, it lays it out pretty clearly. Laban's just trying to screw him over even more, right? By offering this. Wait, who offered the deal? Jacob
offered to be paid this way, and Laban jumped all over it. Yeah.
Why does Jacob want to be offered to be paid so little?
Well, to make it sound and make it more fair in Laban's eyes, because he knew that Laban obviously was probably a person that was took deals by ratios, and if he knew that he wasn't gonna make money, he wasn't gonna take the deal. So with this type of scenario, Jacob presents him a deal that Laban just can't refuse, because it's like, yeah, I'm definitely not going to lose at this, because first off, I don't even want the spotted. I don't want the imperfect sheep and animals, because they're of lesser value. So and the majority of the sheep that he took right with him were the ones that didn't have speckles, didn't have issues. So the odds of them giving birth to imperfect, colored, what do you call baby
Speckled
sheep?
or spotted sheep, yeah. Lamb.
What is the term for baby sheep?
Lambs or
lamb chop.
I'm such an idiot.
Lambs.
Lambs. Yeah, I don't know. I kept trying to say cubs, but that wasn't working.
That doesn't end.
Yeah, lamb chop. So it's an interesting deal that's presented, and I mean, Laban can't help but accept, because he's like, I'm definitely going to win in this one. So yeah, sure, why not? We have a whole Isaac scenario kind of going on here, right? Where with the whole well situation.
Tell us how. Oh, that God blesses him no matter what, where he placed himself, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what's funny is also, like, Laban doesn't only agree to the terms, but then he tries to cheat even further by, like, the current flock that he has. He goes through it and takes out all the spotted ones that are already there and gives Jacob just the pure flock, and then removes them 3 days' journey away to make it even less likely that more will be born.
That more spotted ones.
Yeah.
Because the spotted ones can't sleep with the pure breeds.
I mean, they would be more likely to produce more. So Jacob is watching over this, and Jacob employed a very sneaky breeding schedule and strategy to try to, like, increase his chances, which is a very weird part of the story, because when we look forward and when Jacob recounts his time through this, he gives God the credit and he gives God the glory that he was blessed and that he's the one that paid him. Because what happens is Jacob, how do I even explain this? Because this was hard to, he peels the branches of these tree roots, or these tree branches.
Poplar.
He peels
they
them.
were poplars.
Yeah, and he puts it in the water trough of the sheep, so that when they're there and they're drinking or when they're mating, they're looking at these sticks, right? And he's thinking that if they look at the sticks, and maybe if whatever they're drinking from it, it'll make it less, it'll make them produce or have birth.
That's like a thing they do in livestock.
Yeah,
they look at a certain color while they're mating. They have a kid in that color.
Yeah,
that's like a thing.
Well, it's a thing that he does, but it's not like it actually works that way. That's not how breeding works.
Believe it or not, there are some species where it does work like that.
I mean, he took rods of green poplar and almond and chestnut trees and peeled the white strips of them and exposed the white, which was in the rod, and the rods which he had peeled, he set before the flocks in the gutters, essentially in the water troughs. So they would conceive when they came to drink, and they would pretty much have more babies. But what ends up happening is that they had a bunch of streaked, a bunch of speckled, a bunch of spotted, and they just he became wealthy. Brown, like it was like every time that he would say, okay, make it speckled or striped, they would have a bunch of speckled and striped. Every time they would make it just brown and black, they would have it brown and black. Like Jacob was blessed by God, and it said that thus the man became exceedingly prosperous and had a large flock of female and male servants and camels and donkeys. Like Jacob became exuberantly wealthy because God had blessed him through this.
Even in Isaiah 44, Isaiah refers to poplar trees as basically it gives a representation of the descendants who have the blessings of the Spirit of God. So it has to do, poplar trees kind of at that point like had to do something about the descendants and stuff like that. But there's also another myth to kind of go with poplar. Poplar is the first and foremost tree, a tree sacred to the underworld. Luke, whose name means white, was a beautiful nymph who was brought to the underworld by the god Hades. Being mortal, Luke could not survive in the land of the dead and was instead transformed into a poplar tree. Basically, a poplar, the tree poplar apparently had a lot of sacred and definitely like spiritual meanings behind it.
Yeah, it was definitely, there's something that's really interesting also about the Jacob sheep, that it became like a line of sheep that even appears today. Like there's a whole, I was trying to do a little bit of research too. Like Jacob sheep are known, like they're these spotted, more aggressive. They have like double the amount of horns. They're actually like super popular and they're actually very valuable today. They're, I'm reading here. There's so much to read, but yeah, look it up. Look up about Jacob sheep. That they're around. There's a whole genetic line of them that still exists today, and they're just hardier. They're able to survive off of less, and they're able to grow stronger and faster.
Well,
and they're known for their fur having spots. Nathan, here's an example picture.
This just shows to the whole like basically even before with Abraham and then with Isaac, basically like, and now what's going on in the life of Jacob, where he's trying to have children and they're having a bunch of children with different people. It just shows that no matter what we try to do ourselves, at the end of the day, if God wants you to have children or a certain different, from your wife, or I'm not saying just go find a concubine, but I'm just saying like it was a representation even in Jacob's life at that point in what he was going through with his wives and the concubines, to show that it's not, you can do whatever you want. You can have all the mandrakes in the world, and at the end of the day, it's God who will deliver the impossible, right? So it's another kind of like God moment that's going on here.
At the end of the day, it demonstrates that God's blessing ultimately controls any outcome. Like you can set yourself up and you can have the whole world against you, but it's God who has the final say. If he wants to bless you, he's going to bless you.
Well, he wants,
he
loves impossible positions, right? He loves impossible positions. God likes to put himself in a position where everything seems to go the opposite way. There's no way, even like later, right? We'll see with Isaiah. Isaiah and, right. With the burning thing and with the other priests. It was Isaiah or Jeremiah?
What are you talking about?
Where he douses water all over it, and he calls
Elijah, when he douses the altar, he douses the altar in water.
But basically, even in that story, it's like he makes it extremely impossible, and when God shows up, it's like boom. You know, there's no way that this could have happened. Even with Jesus, I was watching the Chosen recently. And first off, I love that show. I know it's some people have so controversies, but I was watching The Chosen, and it's the Lazarus episode. And Lazarus, you know, Jesus, like this guy's been in there for 4 days. He's been dead. There's no way. And
Hey,
he
no
waits.
spoilers. I haven't seen that.
Yeah, I know,
Dude,
but
I
he
don't want to
waits.
know if Jesus dies in the show. All right.
He waits to the point where everybody knows that this guy's for sure dead, and now he's saying, "Oh,
Yeah.
he's sleeping," and then he wakes him up.
Yep.
So
Yep.
even in this situation,
God is the
with
God that
what's-
likes to work. Yeah. He loves
He
the
loves it.
underdog. He loves these-
Yeah.
And you know why? Because it shows his greater glory. Like he's able to come out and it's like nobody can say, just like when Abraham again didn't want to receive nothing. So nobody can say that I made Abraham rich.
Yeah.
God is the one that blessed. God is the one that gives the increase. It's like you can't give glory to anybody. You could say if you did it all on your own, like, oh, I was smart in my breeding program. I'm the one that have, but Jacob doesn't do that. Even whenever he comes to grips with Laban, God is the one who increased. God is the one who blessed despite everything else. And that's really important because you're right. God loves to do that. He loves to put people in hard positions, have wives who are barren, so that when they have kids, whenever they are blessed, there's nowhere to look to see where that came from except for from God.
Yeah.
And that he's glorified and magnified in that. You're exactly right.
If you want God to bless you,
on.
wait. I just thought of this. If you're praying for God to bless you, expect for God to put you in an impossible position so he can bless you.
Yeah, so that his glory can be shined through it. Absolutely. Nathan, if you can read, we're going to move on to chapter 31 of Genesis. So he becomes exceedingly rich. He becomes exceedingly wealthy, not just with the sheep and the spotted, he gets man and female servants, camels, donkeys. Like he's a force. It's actually so much like we kind of see a change of time. Like Laban at once is like, oh, keep him here because he's making me rich. Jacob becomes so rich. It's like, read verses 1 through 9 of 31. We'll see exactly.
Now Jacob heard the words of Laban's son, saying, Jacob has taken away all that was our father's, and from what was our father's, he has acquired all this wealth.
Yep.
And Jacob saw the countenance of Laban, and indeed it was not favorable towards him as before. Then the Lord said to Jacob, return to the land of your fathers and to your family, and I will be with you. So Jacob sent and called Rachel and Leah to the field, to his flock, and said to them, I see your father's countenance, that it is not favorable toward me as before, but with God of my father has been with me. But the God of my father has been with me.
Yep.
And, he keeps yupping. And you know that with all my might I have served your father. Your father has deceived me and changed my wages 10 times, but God did not allow him to hurt me. If he said thus, the speckled shall be your wages, then all the flocks bore speckled. And if he said thus, the streak shall be your wages, then all the flocks bore streak. So God has taken away the livestock of your father and given them to me.
There you go. That's exactly what I was saying. He gives credit to God. He doesn't give credit to like the fact that he peeled poplar and almond.
Yeah, but at the same time, you're
there.
right. You're right. But at the same time, when you're going into a crowded, let's say you're a pastor, and then all of a sudden you're rich, and it's like, God made me rich. And everybody's like, we know how you got that money, Mr. Pastor. I
don't think it's the same. It's one of
No,
those, it's like, because again,
I know.
That's the stress and the struggle of Jacob. I want to kind of bring that back to understand where Jacob's coming from at this point.
I was just bringing up that example as basically like what a lot of people think, how
it's easy in hindsight.
Exactly. But God really does blesses the people that follow him, right? That's an actual thing that happens. You follow God, he blesses you. Blesses you sometimes in ways you don't expect. I don't think Jacob was expecting to walk away with with more than Laban probably has ever owned. I don't think that's what he was expecting.
But it's important to not judge God's blessing just on monetary growth or like worldly possessions and wealth. God doesn't just use that to bless, especially like, okay, so for Jacob, in his time, that's what was used to measure. Today's day and age, walking with Christ and being blessed doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be rich. That's the problem that a lot of these prosperity preachers and gospels that they preach in these large mega churches, they kind of make you think like, oh, the more money you give, the better that you live, the more you give to God, you're going to be rich. And that's how we see that God loves you, that you have more money than everybody else. But Jacob was blessed because of what he went through and what God needed to do for him. He needed to grow in such a capacity so that he leaves from that place where he was at, because God wants to move him and make his children, these selected people, his own nation. And you're going to see that they can't be comfortable blending with somebody else or with a different type of, benefactor, if you will. And he said, every time he changed his wages, God made it. And it was just like, so it's obvious that God's blessing is there.
I mean, God obviously doesn't want him to be reliant, his nation to be reliant on somebody else for, sustenance.
Yep. It says that he literally got so rich that he's like, their sons were saying, our father's riches have been given to Jacob. Jacob's pretty much stolen everything away. Like every time, he came away with nothing. And he even sees that Laban has treated him badly. Like he's just like, this isn't good.
So we get into that part, right?
So Nathan, if you read from verse 11.
So let's just skip verse 10 and go to 11. Then the angel of God spoke to me in a dream, saying, Jacob. And I said, here I am. And he said, lift your eyes now and see. All the rams which leap on the flocks are streaked, speckled, and gray spotted. For I have seen all that Laban is doing to you. I am the God of Bethel, where you anointed the pillar and where you made a vow to me. Now arise, get out of this land, and return to the land of your family. Then Rachel and Leah answered and said to him, is there still any portion or inheritance for us in our father's house? Are we not considered strangers by him? For he has sold us and also completely consumed our money. For all these riches which God has taken from our father are really ours and our children's. Now then, whatever God has said to you, do it. Then Jacob rose and set his sons and wives on camels, and they lived happily ever after.
No, actually, read this next part.
And he carried away all his livestock and all his possessions, which he had gained, his acquired livestock, which he had gained in Padan Aram, and go to his father Isaac in the land of Canaan. Now Laban had gone to shear his sheep, and Rachel had stolen the household idols that were her father's. Why?
So that's interesting. So
and Jacob stole away, unknown to Laban the Syrian, in that he did not tell him that he intended to flee. So he fled with all that he had. He arose and crossed the river and headed towards the mountains of Gilead with the idols.
Thank you. So this is really interesting. God comes to him and speaks to him and says, let's go. It's time to get up and go back to your father's area, your land. Because like we just said, I mean, he had grown. He had seen the way that he was mistreated. Imagine the stress that Jacob is going through, right? His house is kind of going crazy. At work, he's constantly getting screwed over. God is saying, all right, now pick up and go back to your home where, by the way, there's a guy that wants to kill you. There's a reason you were here in the first place.
I mean, you're saying stress. So imagine the stress that Jacob's going through. He keeps having sex with multiple women, and then he's making a bunch of money hand over fist. Such stress.
Yeah, never mind. He's having a good life.
We get it. Laban's like the bad guy that never wins. Like, I got you now. Oh, if it wasn't for you.
Swiper, no swiping.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, come on. It's like, dude.
Well, with the angel showing up and telling Jacob all of this, it was a clear indication that this was of the Lord. And it was another sign, basically, like God did this, right? And now Jacob has to go. And I can see from even his daughter's perspectives, it's just, they're sold. Now, all this, because theoretically, when right, there's a dowry, right? The father basically has to give a dowry to the other father, and that's kind of, I think, what they were referring to. All this money that was left that was supposed to be for them no longer is there. He probably spent it all. So basically, they're like, we got to go get our money. They just kind of go and grab whatever. They take his idols, which was very, very interesting.
Rachel does. Yeah.
I see that. Rachel does take his idols. And it's just very interesting because they're supposed to be, right? They're supposed to be family. I mean, they're related to Abraham. This is Nahor's, right?
Yeah.
Nahor's children.
Yeah.
So these are Nahor's children. And it's, they know who God is, right? They know who God is. So why would he have idols in the first place, right? Why worship other deities?
It's very interesting that you bring that up. Yeah, there's this whole portion, like, first of all, where are these gods coming from? And remember, we touched on it briefly, that this idea that where Abraham is from and his father's, when he left, that his father had idols, and they're called, the Hebrew word is teraphim, and they're pretty much like these carven image. It would either be like a picture or be like an actual carven image of something, and it had a significant like importance in the family. Like you could actually like use that to whoever had that signified as the head of the household, and they could use that in court to argue over property and landscape or livestock, and it was something that would be passed down through the generations. And Rachel taking him kind of like, oh, you didn't give us any inheritance anyway. You've been trying to screw over our husband. You kind of just gave us and sold us away. I'm going to take whatever. But Jacob had no idea about all this. Jacob is trying to serve the Lord in whatever knowledge and capacity he can. And it could have been, like you said, stolen as a payment for an inheritance or a dowry. It could have been used out of fear that Laban would dispute the property that Jacob had attained, and then actually have cause to have people come against him and say that, look, I'm the leader of this household. I'm the one that has ownership of all these flocks. Because Jacob left in the way that he left, maybe he stole it and he could be, destroyed for that. Or maybe she possibly thought that because now this kind of gets in the weeds, and you're going to see this come up later, but teraphim and these type of idols that are used, this is going to be something that comes up. Spoiler alert,
you're right.
Israel people are going to be used as like, you can divide, like they're horrible, disgusting rituals that are used for like divination and worship to other gods and stuff like that. So maybe she thought I don't believe this one, but I've read this somewhere that she thought that Laban could find out where they're at by like dividing. So she wanted to try to take any precaution against him.
Use witchcraft to find out.
Yeah, exactly. Because
I think I lean more on your the first one where with the
there's multiple different ideas, but either way, it was really important.
Well, even of the fact that, for Jacob being in her mind the head of the household, Laban having even those idols kind of could have been a representation of ownership over them as a family. So if she takes them, then he no longer has ownership over them, because Laban was like how you even said he believed in all these rituals and stuff like that. So if she took those idols and gave them to Jacob, now Jacob has ownership over their family. But Jacob, like how you said, had no idea this was going on. So he didn't believe in all these rituals and stuff like that. So he believed in God.
Yeah. And so we see this happens deceptively. They head out, and what the Bible tells us in the next couple verses here, from verses 26 to 30, is that about 3 days goes by. 3 days goes by before Laban realizes anything is wrong. And
where are all these people at?
And he pursues them. He's like, wait a minute.
For 7 days.
He pursues them for 7 days once he realized. And he overtook him. But this is super interesting. Nathan, if you could read verse 24 for me. 24 and 25.
But God had come to Laban the Syrian in a dream by night and said to him, be careful that you speak to Jacob neither good nor bad. So Laban overtook Jacob. Now Jacob had pitched his tent in the mountains, and Laban with his brethren pitched in the mountains of Gilead. And Laban said to Jacob, what have you done, that you have stolen away unknown to me, and carried away my daughters like captives taken with the sword? Why did you flee away secretly and steal away from me, and not tell me? For I might have sent you away with joy and songs, with timbrel and harp, and you did not allow me to kiss my sons and my daughters. Now you have done foolishly in so doing. It is in my power to do you harm, but the God of your father spoke to me last night, saying, be careful that you speak to Jacob neither good nor bad.
One more verse.
And now you have surely gone because you greatly long for your father's house. But why did you steal my gods?
Boom.
So okay.
Laban.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Let me start with this one. First off, we all know that Laban wasn't going to send them away with good tidings and joy.
Yeah.
Second part, the whole thing that we thought about with teraphim. So we obviously see that they're his gods.
Yeah. And that was the most important thing to him. Like, he says all this other stuff, but he was like,
well, when he's referring to God, he's saying the God of your father Abraham. So it's not even. He knows who this God is, but he's not even like kind of looking at it as his God. Not even. He's just it's just another god. It's very wild, very interesting. And then the first part. So I'll start off. God says to him, "Don't say anything good or bad." Puts him in an impossible position because this guy's furious. So if God said, "Don't say anything bad to him," and all he does is say good things, that's kind of like a scapegoat. So now God puts him even in a worse position. Don't say anything good or bad. So now Laban's just basically asking him a bunch of questions. Doesn't say any insult or any good thing to him. Just ask him a bunch of questions.
Yeah, he's just kind of stuck in between a rock and a hard place because obviously, like you said, he's not serving the God of Jacob and Isaac and Abraham, but obviously he comes and God puts fear in him for him to actually listen. And
he knows who he is.
Actually be like,
he knows who this God is.
And he knows that, and he knows this God has the power to bless and probably curse. Because remember, back in Genesis, I think it's 12, God promises those who bless you will be blessed and those who curse you will be cursed. And God kind of comes and wags his fingers like, don't you be careful. I know that you're here and you have the power to do him harm. And that's another reason, I think, like I said earlier, that reason of taking the teraphim of the gods from his household was so important because it kind of took away his right to kind of intercede. And Jacob responds kind of like, because I was afraid, I didn't think, perhaps you would think you would take your daughters by force, but I had no idea someone took your gods. If whoever took your gods, if you could find them, they will not live. Like he literally pronounces death on the person because that's how important it was to Laban. Like he's like, if you find him, kill him. And I could just see Rachel kind of like, because he didn't know Rachel stole him and he loves Rachel. So I could see Rachel shifting in her seat a little bit like, because Laban goes on the hunt. He goes digging through his tents, through his animals, through his cargo. It's crazy.
Well, these are his gods. Of course. If somebody stole your gods from you, you're going to go find them.
Well, we see that was the only thing important, not his kids, not his grandkids. I'm sure he did have some affection for his family and the wealth, but he lost a lot by Jacob leaving. But we see that was kind of like the first and fourth thing on his mind. This is gods and these carving images. It's interesting how Rachel gets away with not getting discovered, though.
Yeah, she sits on a camel.
Well, she's sitting on a camel and she uses the excuse. She's like, it's my monthly time. I'm on my period. I can't get up right now. I'm sorry. And Laban's just like, ugh, and like kind of like walks away.
You're disgusting. That's gross.
And then Jacob gets angry and kind of tells,
you came after me and
what is my trespass?
I've done nothing.
He like, what did I do? What did I do wrong? Like, you're the one that you searched my whole household. These 20 years I've been with you. And I've done so many things. I have not done you wrong. I've worked so hard. I spent all my time outside. I was torn up by the beasts, by the weather. I was there in day. The drought consumed me. The frost by night. Sleep departed from my eyes. Like Jacob has a lot of pent up aggression that he just lays out on Laban. He just lets him have it. 14 years for your 2 daughters. 6 years for your flocks have changed my wages 10 times. Unless the God of my father, the God of Abraham, and the fear of Isaac had been with me, surely now you would have sent me away empty-handed. Like, he's like, just telling him straight up, like, you were a charlatan, you would have screwed me over. And it's kind of like this really big climactic moment with Laban and Jacob where he's finally separating.
And Laban answered and said to Jacob, these daughters are my daughters. And these children are my children. And this flock is my flock. All that you see is mine. But what can I do this day to these my daughters or to their children whom they have borne? Now, therefore, come, let us make a covenant. They always love making covenants in the Old Testament. The Old Testament, they love the covenant. Like, that's like the thing that they just look forward to.
I really think we should bring covenants back. Like, just a dramatic.
Let us make a covenant, you and I, and let it be witness between you and me. Whoa.
I want to roll up a giant stone one time and make a covenant with you guys.
I mean,
so Jacob took a stone and set it up as a pillar. That would be probably
stronger than a contract.
You're right.
Yeah, we make contracts today. Those are our covenants.
I get it, but it's just something about like rolling a big stone and pouring oil over it or something. I don't know exactly how they did it.
Would you be able to sue somebody because they breached the stone oil?
I bet you would stand.
It would not. It needs to be in writing.
anyway, they come together and they agree to not pass by either side of this covenant line, that Jacob won't come and interfere and that they won't cause harm, because Laban knows that God is on his side. And if he comes to seek to destroy him, he pretty much probably could, even though he tries to threaten and say that he has power over him. But Jacob also sees that Laban's not poor. I mean, he has nothing compared to what he used to have, but still has men and servants, and they could cause kind of a struggle. But they make a sacrifice and they eat. They have a party. They fall asleep. They wake up, and Laban makes his final farewells. He kisses his children, leaves them with a blessing. So everything kind of leaves on this
fake good terms.
Like, it's just kind of like, we're not fighting, but you ain't going over to his house for Thanksgiving.
It's BS
you know
from the very get-go, from the very beginning. I mean, for Laban to say that these are my children after we all read and all knew that he gave them away to Jacob, right? When Jacob works for them, he paid for them. So for this dude, and even the whole thing with the sheep and all the goats and blah, 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 we obviously know that these are no longer Laban's. Laban's just kind of like making stuff up. He's like, I'm going to just give them to you. Let's make a covenant. And Jacob's like, this is a complete waste of time.
He's like, all right,
they're already mine, but right.
You want to do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Let's just get this over with.
Yeah, he's just kind of, they end there on a tumultuous note. And it's just, at least they leave like that. And you can kind of see God's blessing in that as well, where even though it's not really good. Like, again, like I said, he's not going over for dinner or anything like that, but it could have been way worse. Obviously, Jacob left with some.
How did Laban overtake Jacob so easily?
It took him 7 days.
Laban probably went with a smaller group.
He was chasing him for 7 days.
Jacob is traveling with sheep, with young, weary children. Actually, we're going to come up with that later. Like, it's a thing. You can't drive them very hard. You can't just be like, on the double, and like whip the back of the sheep and they're running away. If somebody's pursuing you with horses and camels, they'll probably catch you a lot quicker. And he had a big group of servants and everything. Like, it was a lot. We see that he had a lot to spare. It wasn't just little, like it was with Abraham. These aren't moving in small little, groups of 20. There are hundreds of people and servants and the hundreds, if not thousands, of animals and livestock moving. Like, it's a whole, like, you see them coming from afar off. These are people where if they come up to a city state or like a gate of a city, they're like, oh, there's people here. Like, it's like, this is a thing. Like, they're either invading or they're passing through or
we have
causing
to address the situation.
Yeah, this is a situation to address.
Well, we'll see how much he really has too, like, because it's about to describe like how much he's going to be giving away. So we know that this guy's traveling like kind of like how Abraham was traveling, right? Wherever he was going, it was like a little city. Yeah, exactly. You said the same thing, but I mean, just try to picture it, a little city on, just wandering and moving through the lands. You're not going to really mess with them, but they're also moving very slow and very easy to catch. So, yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to move on now to this extremely significant part of the Bible. It's one of my favorite chapters. It's really interesting. We're gonna end with this next part, but Genesis chapter 32, Jacob kind of reaches the climax of his life, if you will. Obviously, there's a lot more that happens afterwards, and he has a lot of children. He will have some adventures, but up until now, Jacob is known as somebody who was a supplanter, was a struggler, struggled with man, struggled with his brothers, struggled with his home, with his family, struggled with his father-in-law, struggled at work, and
his
struggled
wives.
at home with his wives. Like, he's just, all he's ever known is struggle. All he's ever known is hardship and getting things the hard way, through deceit, through underhanded means, through having to work out his own way, feeling like he has the blessing of God, but it's tough. And now he's having to go home. And he's like, this is unresolved issues as well. His brother clearly made it known that he wants him dead. And there's no way that in this amount of 20 years or so that have passed, his brother hasn't also grown in strength. And, he had a couple wives before he even left, before Jacob even got married. So who knows what he has now. And he's on his way back, and obviously he's troubled. But if you read the first 2 verses of Genesis chapter 32, we'll see kind of how Jacob is on his way. Genesis chapter 32, verses 1 and two.
I know we're there, but that's like, there's nothing.
Before we get to that spot, before we get to chapter 32, I just want to go a little bit back to the very end of the previous chapter where Laban, at that point, chooses to bless all his children. He blesses his sons and his daughters. So it was a very, it's huge because earlier, right, we talked about blessings and birthrights, right? So these children, now obviously there's no birthright for the daughters, but for a father to bless the children, I mean, it's big. So it's not just a physical blessing, but it's also, I don't want to say spiritual blessing, but it has to do with kind of like, I allow you to keep moving and going on. And I want you to know that this is in my favor. And he also did probably bless them with things as well.
I mean, they left amicably. They left on good, semi-good terms, like we said. He blessed them. He kind of kissed them and said, okay, goodbye, be blessed. He also charges Jacob, one thing we didn't mention. He's like, you're not to take any other wives other than my daughters. You have to treat them well. This is part of our covenant. Like, you have to do these things. Like, you're kind of tied to them. And you could see that Laban did have a heart for his family and his children at some level, to where he was like, treat them well. Don't sit here and have a bunch of other wives.
Which sons and daughters? Was it Jacob's sons and daughters or Laban's sons and daughters?
Yeah, it was Jacob's. It was Laban's grandsons.
Oh, so he blessed his grandkids. So I was wrong.
Yeah, it was his kids. It was the children of his daughters. Exactly.
I see. Well, either way, that's still a huge deal.
Exactly. No, it's good to know. And I didn't mention that. Thank you for reminding me that. He kind of was like, you can't do this.
Chapter 32. So Jacob went on his way, and the angels of God met him. When Jacob saw them, he said, this is God's camp, and he called the name of that place Mahanaim.
Menaheim.
That's what you want me to read?
No, it was another encounter with
Manhattan.
I thought it was kind of cool. I mean, Jacob was like, this place is awesome. And, God is in this place.
Mahanaim, not Manaheim. Mahanaim. Well, here's the thing. He's about to meet his good old brother
Esau, big old hairy redhead man,
who he stole the inheritance and the blessing and everything from.
And he comes back very much so blessed and inherited.
Yeah, and he comes back and he hears that he's waiting for him with 400 men.
Well, no, what happens first is he sends a messenger
before him.
He's like, hey, kind of to feel the situation out. He's like, go to Edom and command him to speak to my lord Esau thus. I have dwelled in the land of Laban and stayed there until now. I have oxen, donkey, flock, and male and female servants. I have sent them to tell my lord that I might find favor in your sight. And all the messenger comes back and says is like, we came to your brother Esau and he is coming to meet you with 400 men. Yeah. he's like, that's all he says. I got 400 men deep and I'm coming to see you. Doesn't say he's happy to see you. Doesn't say everything's cool. Just like, yeah, we're rolling and we got him. And
that's a lot of guys. That's a lot of guys.
That's a lot of men. That's more than what Abraham used to get back Lot when he killed the
And you got to remember, Esau was an archer. So
he's like a man of the field. He's a manly man.
Well, he probably loved to fight. So he knows a good tussle when he sees one.
Well, I mean, Jacob at this point has been working physically too. He's not just been spending time in tents. So 20 years of hard labor.
Yeah, but I don't imagine
talked about this. Remember? How hard it was to like raise sheep compared to it was hard work.
Yeah, but this isn't an Abraham scenario where Abraham is a wanderer of the field of the countryside and has a bunch of trained men at his ready. I don't think Jacob had a bunch of trained men ready to go at a moment's hand.
No, it literally says Jacob was greatly afraid and distressed, and he actually divided the people that were with him in the flocks into two companies. Like he split them up so he doesn't lose everything all at once. It becomes like a big deal. He said, if Esau's company comes and attacks one company, at least I have the other one, which can escape. You know what I mean? Like, that's how scared he was.
What did he split them up as? Because was it like both of his wives? He just split up both of his wives with their kids?
Well, no, because he still had his wives and kids with him, and we'll see how later. I mean, Jacob says, "Oh God of my father Abraham and the father of God of my father Isaac, the Lord who said to me, return to your country and I will deal well with you. I am not worthy, least of all the mercies in which all the truth which you have shown your servant, for I have crossed over." Okay, sorry, this is reading a lot. He says, "Deliver me, I pray, from the hand of my brother, and the hand of Esau, for I fear lest he come and attack me. He's praying and asking God to kind of intercede for him on behalf. So he split up his troop, and he actually comes along and he gives out to try to pacify. Verses 13 to 20, he collects a large gift to prepare for Esau, and it was, like you mentioned earlier, 200 female goats, 20 male goats, 20 ewes, 20 rams, 30 female camels.
No, dude. 200 female goats and 20 male goats. 200 ewes and 20 rams.
200. I'm sorry. 30. I actually wrote that down. I just didn't read it. 30 female camels with their young, 40 cows and 10 bulls and 20 female donkeys and 10 males.
And 10 foals.
And kind of sends them up and splits them up, like once he kind of meets them, saying, oh, who are these people from? And when Esau sees them, he's like, oh, they're from your servant Jacob, for you, And
here's a gift. And here's another gift. And here's another gift. And here's another gift. And here's another gift.
So he can kind of feel good.
Yeah.
He keeps giving him gifts because he stole his birthright and his blessing because he's scared of him.
He's coming with 400 men. He doesn't know. He's saying, perhaps he will accept me. So the present went on before him, but he himself lodged in the camp that night. And he stayed there, with his 2 wives and his 2 female servants who he had kids with, and the 11 sons, and crossed over the ford Jacob. And he took them and sent them over the brook. And then Jacob was, I'm going to let Nathan read here, but he pretty much, he takes his wives. All his flocks are separated into 2 companies. He sends a gift up ahead because he's super nervous about Esau. He's freaking out. He can't go back to Laban because the commitment that he made was that he doesn't go over there. They don't spend time together over there. He can't, he's just left amicably.
God has sent him home. Laban's like, you can't come back here. God told him to go home. He knows Esau's waiting for him at home. And he's like, God, you didn't just send me to die. So let me appease this man with gifts.
And then he's left with his wives. And he took them and sent them, if I'm not mistaken, he puts them in order.
He splits them up in weird ways to so every time Esau turns around, he's comes across
with some gifts and stuff like that.
But the most important part of this, let's get to verse 22.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to read verse 22 through 32.
It's 24. I just kind of went over 22. Read 24 onward.
Let me read 22 because it's 22 through 32.
I just read that he took his 2 female servants and then crossed for the Jacob.
And he's, all right, well, let me read it because it's not Jacob. It's Jabbok.
Jabbok, whatever.
And he arose that night and took his 2 wives, his 2 female servants, and his 11 sons and crossed over the ford of Jabbok. He took them, sent them over the brook, and sent over what he had. Then Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestled with him until the breaking of day. The word man is capitalized.
Okay.
Now, when he saw that he did not prevail against him, he touched the socket of his hip, and the socket of Jacob's hip was out of joint as he wrestled with him. And he said, let me go, for the day breaks. But he said, I will not let you go unless you bless me. So he said to him, what is your name? He said, Jacob. And he said, your name shall no longer be Jacob, but Israel. For you have struggled with God and with men and have prevailed. Then Jacob asked, saying, tell me your name, I pray. And he said, why is it that you ask about my name? And he blessed him there. So Jacob called the name of the place Peniel, for I have seen God face to face, and my life is preserved. Just as he crossed over Peniel, the sun rose on him, and he limped on his hip. Therefore, to this day, the children of Israel do not eat the muscle that shrank,
which is on the hip socket, because he touched the socket of Jacob's hip and the muscle that shrank. You just have the climax of all the struggles of Jacob's whole life. It's just perfectly represented in this physical act. His wives are now gone. His company split up. He can't go forward. He can't go backwards. All he knows is struggle. And then some dude comes upon him in the middle of the night while he's left alone at camp, and he just starts going at it. There's nowhere it tells us how this broke out and why. I don't know if he was just sitting there struggling, turn around a corner and maybe bump shoulders. Who are you? And it just grabs him and they start fighting. There's no,
all
it's not
day
like a
long.
shiny angel came down. Dude, all night long.
The weird thing is, why he's that while he's just bless me? What?
Here's why. And this is super, super important. So many things happen in this part. of the Bible. That's a life-changing encounter for Jacob. He's fighting with this man, and at one point he's struggling. Hours. If the daylight's coming, either they just started wrestling right like 20 minutes before daylight, or like they've been wrestling all night, which is probably more so the case. Because this person couldn't prevail over him. And he had to touch his socket, and he shrunk the like. Obviously, Jacob realizes as he's wrestling, as he can do that this is a divine figure, and he's like, bless me. Like, that's all he's ever wanted, was the acceptance and the blessing. That's what he's been fighting for from birth, grabbing the heel of his brother so that he could come out first, selling the birthright for a bowl of soup. It was always on his mind, tricking his brother and his father for the actual blessing that comes down. And then everything that led up to this moment, you see that Jacob just wanted to be blessed. He wanted to live and be at peace. He wanted freedom. And he just was like, I'm not letting you go. I'm not going to let you. I don't know what's going on.
He was tired of taking everybody's blessings, right? Because that was kind of what he was doing. Yeah.
He was tired of fighting. He was tired of struggling. He was tired of supplanting. He was tired of not having peace anywhere in his life, having to get it the hard way. And it just showed he struggled with God himself. That's what it says.
He wrestled with God.
And
yeah, well, okay.
It's such a significant moment. I really spent a lot of time just meditating on that.
Do
and thinking about that.
you wrestle with God?
Let's start preaching here.
No, but in hindsight, though,
he was alone too, man. I love it. Like, every part of it, he was just this moment in the darkness, in the height of stress.
Yeah.
Just bless me. Let me go for the day of grace. Like, I'm not going to let you go. I'm not going to let you go, just like I didn't let anything go in my life.
Not only that, he's also keeps saying, like, oh, he said to him, what is your name?
And then he responds to him, what is your name? And he says, Jacob. And he says, your name shall no longer be Jacob, but Israel.
Yeah.
And that's so significant because it's changing the name of somebody, as we talked with Abraham and as we saw in the Bible with Sarah. And when God does this, he sees who you're supposed to be. He changes your entire, what you're known as, what you've dealt with up until now, what
all
your
trajectory.
Exactly. He's like, I'm going to make you something new. I'm going to turn you into something new. I'm going to make you, and this is a name that's not just like Abraham, where it just changed his name to mean something. This is going to be by what you will be known as, by what your children will be known as, by what the nations, and even to this day in 2024, we know of the nation of Israel and Israelites and Hebrews.
Like I said before, to pay a lot of attention to the fact that, I mean, his name is called Israel, and why we see that, and through the whole story of like how we see all his struggles being played out, and him being called Jacob, not Israel now. But it's funny that Jacob turns the question back onto him, and he's like, well, what is your name? And he's like, there's no reason for me to, for you to know my name, but I'm going to bless you. And he blesses him, so it's,
it's strange
don't know
because
if he ever
it just
actually
means that God prevails.
The name change, it's like, somebody is just kind of like born again into something different.
And now this is
what I want to know is, because I know you said that this guy just randomly walked up on him and started wrestling him, and I probably imagine it going that same way. But it also
there
seems
was no mandrakes there.
It also seems that this area, because even before, just like as Jacob was traveling, he ran into the angels of the Lord that met up with him, and Jacob's like, when he saw them, he's like, this is God's camp, and he called the place Manaheim or Mananim, whatever.
Mahanaim.
Yeah, it's too hard. Okay, and but even now, it just kind of seems like in this area, it's just angels were just kind of walking about. They were just walking around doing.
That's something. So obviously, and it always says that he had dreamed. Jacob specifically, there's many mentions that while he was dreaming during the Jacob's ladder incident. He was dreaming when God said that he came to him and told him to go back to his father's place. He was dreaming whenever he saw that, like, he wasn't dreaming here in this moment. And
well, even before he wasn't dreaming when he saw the angels of
not
God.
Always.
I'm
not saying always, but he was known as a dreamer, and he saw angels. So he's had these experiences. Now, this is the big question. This is the big conversation we had before the pod and while we were doing research. There are many different schools of thought. Who did Jacob wrestle with there?
So in Hosea 12, verse 4, it describes a little bit about the struggles of Jacob. And it says that
4 and 5, yeah.
I'll start with chapter 3, and he said, he took his brother by the heel in the womb, and in his strength he struggled with God. Yes, he struggled with the angel and prevailed. He wept and sought favor from him, and he found him in Bethel, and there he spoke to us. That is the Lord God of hosts. The Lord is his memorable name. It just, so in Hosea, it describes it as an angel. And then over here, it describes him as a man, and then it literally says that he faced God face to face. So that's kind of where it gets very, very interesting, because yes, a lot of people kind of go and say that, oh, it was Jesus. Yeah, he had to have wrestled Jesus because Jesus is a physical interpretation of God. So I don't know. I have my theories, and I'm going to definitely hit on, but I definitely want Andrew to kind of to really describe the whole Jesus narrative.
Well, I, as you know, like I like to, while we're moving through the stories of the Bible, while we're starting from beginning to end, one of the things I think is really interesting, and one of the things I'm going to bring out is the presence of Jesus and his involvement in the narrative from the very beginning. Like, he's not just a character that comes up in the New Testament that wasn't thought of before and that wasn't involved in creation and there with everybody. It's something I think is very important for us to realize. And when we look at different phrases in the Bible, there's obvious indications, or from what I believe, indications that you can distinguish between an angel, a divine figure, or a pre-incarnate representation of Jesus Christ. There's a couple different reasons why I believe it was Jesus. First off, and probably the most important point, who else has the power to bless other than God? I've never seen where an angel has the power to give a blessing from his own account. And Jacob wrestling with this divine figure, with what I believe is a pre-incarnate version of Jesus, just like whenever the angels appeared to Abraham, the three visitors, and one of them was the Lord, I believe that was Jesus. And like with Hagar, we talked about that she asked for blessing, and he blessed her, and she also said and called, I seen the one who sees me, right? And even here he says, it is because I saw the face of God, and yet he spared my life. You know, it becomes there are indicators that we can see that give us a context to believe that this figure was Jesus, and what I believe. And like I said, even with Adam and Eve walking through the garden, how that would have been anytime we see the representation of God fulfilled in a carnate version, that has to be Jesus. When we see, even if it calls it the angel of the Lord, because he's called the angel of the Lord, or the man, or these type of figures throughout the Bible. And you said yourself, Hosea is a good verse that people use for the opposite, saying, because it kind of claims it as an angel. But even there's some similarities with this in Judges 13, with man being used, referring to angelic beings. Like Manoah, we're talking about Samson's...
Manolo.
What?
Nothing.
Oh, sorry. Manoah asked for the name of the angel. So kind of there's some similarities with this encounter. Where he says, and this is Samson's father and mother when they're there. He asked for his name, and the name, he kind of has the same thing. He's like, why do you ask my name? You wouldn't begin to understand, what my name would be. And then Manoah like does a sacrifice, like tries to make a sacrifice for him. He says, don't sacrifice to me, sacrifice to God. So he directly refers. And then the sacrifice, the fire, the angel gets in the fire and he ascends into heaven through the fire. That's an indicator where you can see where there was a distinction between one and the other. In this, we have three things. One, he blesses. He asks for the blessing. Two, he touches and he can physically affect the body where where Jacob will have a limp forever. And three, he changes his name, a name that would be such a significant moment in the people of God's history, I believe that he would also have been present. Jesus would have done this, changed the name, blessed Jacob, impacted his life physically, and kind of relieved him in that moment of stress. I like to believe that when we're fighting, when we're alone, when we've struggled so much, I believe Jesus is there. I'm sorry. Like, and I don't think that it's such a significant moment in Jacob's life. I can't believe that it wasn't God to have loved and to have been there so personal. I don't think it's something that just came up in the New Testament. We think of the God of the Old Testament as a God of wrath and punishment and, fire from heaven. But I see Jesus, man. I see Jesus there fighting with you, not letting you go.
Well, if you see Jesus, then Jesus was the one that brought brimfire and hellfire all upon Sodom and Gomorrah and those 5 cities, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, but technically the angels were there when they did it. They were instructed. Remember,
the angels were with Lot, and guess what the angels did? They took away the sight of the people trying to get in, right?
Yeah, I'm saying
that wasn't Jesus. We know that those are just angels. We've talked about this before.
Well, we also know an angel has the power. An angel gave mute to John the Baptist's father.
Yes,
whenever he doubted and said, "You can't speak anymore."
So therefore,
there is impact.
If they can take away things, right, then you can also say that they can also bless, right? Because if they can take away, they can also bless.
I don't think so at all. I think blessing only comes from the Lord.
Don't the angels?
But if they're messengers of the Lord,
blessed are you for being here. Like,
no,
it's all the shepherds that
they give you like you're blessed for this situation, but they're not giving you. I will bless you. God is only the one that has the power to bless, and I'll stand on that.
All right. Well, I mean, I agree I agree that it could be Jesus. There's also another where it doesn't say nobody has seen upon the face of God, but he says he's seen the face of God. So that's why I kind of believe it could be Jesus, because Jesus is the only person you can see face to face. That's a representation of God. That's why I believe it could be Jesus. That's the verse that does it for me.
Follow me,
because he sees him face to face.
Well, actually, no. You still going? Because Nathan, are you done? I'm about to go on a whole spiel.
I mean, yeah, and then I did want to punch back on the because I mean, I said the whole born again thing. I mean, there's a precedent being set when God changes somebody's name. It's very important to God that whenever you have a significant encounter with God and you finally dedicate your life to Him, all of a sudden your name changes or you're born into something else, as in being born again, which is a very important thing in Christianity.
Yeah, he uses the same, like he's the same God.
But
his philosophies are the same.
People act like it's like just a Christian thing to be born again. No, actually, it's an Old Testament thing. Yeah. All right, go ahead, Josh.
So, okay, I'm going to let's say that this, because even in Hosea we get a clear indication that this angel was basically God. So let's say this is Jesus. My problem at this point, at the very beginning, is the fact that Jesus, right, and even all these angels that are just wandering around from the looks of it, they have physical and men-looking appearances. Now, to be a man, theoretically, you have to be born, right?
No.
What?
Okay.
What are you talking about?
Jesus, we know that when he became a man, he was born, and his mom was Mary, right? She was the surrogate there. I don't know if he had the genes of the mother and the father, but theoretically he had to have the genes of the mother to be 100% man. So,
okay.
For this to be Jesus, he had to have been born. Now, follow me down this interesting rabbit trail. For this to be Jesus, he had to have been born. For Jesus to have been the person,
do they have to have been born?
Yeah.
Nothing.
For Jesus to have been the figure, even with Adam and Eve, with Abraham, with Noah, with Job, with Isaac, this physical interpretation of God. Right, we've constantly said throughout all these stories that it must have been Jesus. My only thing is, he's not born yet. He's not born yet. But follow me here. When Jesus, at the end, when he dies and he gets resurrected and he goes into the heavens, physically going into the heavens, he's not dead anymore, right? He's physically going into the heavens. What if when he's in the heavens, he's basically able to time travel? Marvel Universe type of style.
I knew he was going to go through the time.
He can go
thing.
Well, it goes perfect because
he transcends time, huh?
He transcends time. So God knew that all of this was going to happen, right? He knew he had the whole plan already laid out. So in the beginning, he knew of it even 3,000 years later. So when Jesus was born and then when he died, and then when he was resurrected and he went back into the heavens, this plan was already in motion. He was already there. That's why when he's talking with Peter and the other two disciples, Peter, Mark, and Luke, no, John, right? Matthew.
What?
Who are when he
Mark,
transcends?
Luke, John.
The
Transfiguration.
Peter, John, and James.
The
Peter, John, and
Transfiguration.
James.
And he's talking to Moses and Elijah.
Yes, he says that
he's talking to Moses and Elijah.
He's the one that knew them and everything, and this shows exactly that. Like Jesus already met with these people before he's even met with them. So he's a time traveler. Like obviously we know that God can move throughout time in any way he wants, but this is, in my mind, this is how I had to make it make sense to a point that for Jesus to be physical in this area.
I mean, this is just going off your theory that Jesus had to have been born to be considered a man.
So for him to take on
so you're saying that for him to be this guy that wrestles with wrestles with Jacob.
Yeah.
That means Jesus, thousands of years later, is born, dies, gets resurrected, then travels back in the time and does all this other stuff that they already knew about whenever he was born. Because that's all linear. That's kind of what you're saying, right?
Exactly.
He's outside of time.
It makes no sense to our linear timeline. But if God, that's one way that I can also like see how God already knows how everything's going to play out, right?
Okay. So why would it be hard to believe that he could take on a physical representation of himself before the birth? Because let me just say this: like, the reason for the incarnation of Jesus is significant for the reason that he needed to sacrifice his life. And live a full life to be a perfect sacrifice so that he could cover the sins and reconnect and save everybody, right? The blood had to have been pure, without sin, from the beginning, born and raised, just like the lamb had to be chosen spotless, without blemish, would live in the house for a time and then be used as a sacrifice for the atonement. But we see other places before this and even after this where we agree, or at least many people can agree, like we'll go back to Abraham and the three visitors. They sat and ate, right? Something physical.
Yeah.
And you agree that Lord, when he stopped with the Lord, that could be a physical representation of Jesus. Are you saying that also was just pre-time travel Jesus? Or like, why would he have to time travel? Why can't he just, being God, for the sake of that moment, use an incarnation or use a physical representation? Again, not God as a totality, because if God, like, for example, God comes down physically on the Mount Sinai when Moses is there and the whole mountain catches on fire and smoke and people are falling on their faces afraid. That's going to happen very soon. We're going to get to those stories and it's going to be awesome. But God uses different forms of manifestation in order to help connect and relate. I think that he can choose a moment to come down as fire and burn up a mountain, come down as a still small voice whenever Elijah's on his peak depression, or come in the moment of a man to wrestle with Jacob without having to work it around in our minds to say that after he could only be physical if he was born. I mean, you're putting limitations on God in that sense.
I'm not putting limitations on God, obviously. Well,
you're saying that he has to be born to be showing up as physical. He who made humanity, who made physical, for the sake of coming and facing Jacob in this moment, couldn't have just come down.
So he showed up with the face of Jesus before Jesus even was born, or are you saying that he had a different look completely?
I mean, if we're going to get into the specifics of like what his hairstyle was and what he was wearing,
no, not his hairstyle, but his appearance.
But like his appearance, possibly.
I mean, he was talking to Moses and Elijah like they knew him.
That's what I'm saying.
They're like, "Hey, Jesus!" Like,
yeah.
Hey,
Sure.
It could be, and a lot of people argue that transfiguration moment was like a moment in time where it was like a time lapse, or like it was a. And that gets really in the weeds. And
look,
and I'm not discrediting your idea.
You guys, honestly, Josh's thing. I mean, I think that's kind of cool. It's not
Jesus.
It's not really incorrect. I mean, Jesus. You don't know how God or Jesus chooses to do what he does.
Yeah.
They have
when Jesus transcends into heaven, right? He transcends in a physical form. He doesn't die like the rest of us
he ascends,
and just go into heaven and then get new bodies. And this is the other topic where kind of how you even brought up with the angels being able to eat and stuff like that. What if angels have a physical form? Like it's no, I mean like a full on
I wanted to do
normally physical form. That when they go up into the heavens, they stay physical. What?
How? If God is spirit, because the Bible tells us God is spirit. When he came and created earth, the spirit of God hovered over the waters.
Yeah.
Why would not his assembly of heavenly hosts also act in spirit?
Why would it say that the spirit of God?
With Manoah,
boom,
he got into the fire and ascended through the smoke and disappeared. Does that physical dude just not burn up and go like, this is really hot real quick, but I want to make a point. This is really burning.
No, because God could control it all. God could control the whole, even with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Why did they not burn? Right? They had a physical form, but Jesus didn't allow them to get burned, right?
Wait, who didn't allow him to burn? Jesus?
Who was there in the fire with them?
Jesus. He traveled back in time. Wait, or he just appeared. I don't think he has to go back in time. I think
it's not going back in time, but in our linear way of thinking, it's going back in time, but he was already there. All of this already existed. He's already
You guys are both saying the same thing. Like, I mean, you're just saying it in a different way.
It's adding on to my thing, if just adding a different angle for explanation for why he was there. But my point is still the same. It's just, I believe that was Jesus.
I'm the only one that doesn't.
You don't believe it was Jesus?
I believe it was Jesus too.
I mean, it's cool if you don't. I'm not saying that, there's biblical.
I believe it was God.
It's debated. I'm not saying we have all the answers.
Okay, let's go on to the fact that what if it is God? What if it is God and what if it's not Jesus? Because I'm going to play devil's advocate over here.
Okay, what if it was God but wasn't Jesus? How does that make sense?
Yeah, they're all one and the same.
Members, berries?
Yes, they are one and the same. I'm playing. Don't get this in a way that this is what Josh believes.
You don't have to play a devil advocate just for the sake of devil advocate.
Why not? Why
You're
not?
allowed to have
because
opinions.
this is another question that was brought up to me, and I'd like to introduce it.
Okay, what is it?
All right. So obviously we know that Jesus and God are in the same because Jesus says that, but he also is being referred constantly as the Son of God, right? He is the Son of God. So this is going to be a little trippy to explain. So him being the Son of God, and then the whole transfiguration moment is God basically giving him, basically saying, "This is my son." Before that,
that wasn't his baptism, right?
Yeah,
it was.
Yeah,
this is my son in whom I am well pleased.
He says that at the baptism,
but he said exactly. He is saying that this is my son. So what this person basically brought up was, because I asked a bunch of different people this question, and this is one of the topics that was introduced to me, and he basically saying like, what if Jesus at this point is just an angel and isn't theoretically the Son of God, and what if God is doing all of this and Jacob meets God face to face, isn't meeting with Jesus, the Son of God, right? That's kind of what was introduced. That I'm not.
So I follow it. So you're basically saying that Jesus had to earn his sonship. Earn his sonship,
like he had to get promoted to Son of God.
Yeah. The guy said
that. Do I really have to argue that?
No, you don't really have to argue that.
It's just saying.
That's what was
he has
said.
to earn it.
Yeah, no. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, and nothing that was made was made. You know,
Well,
nothing that was made.
God does
was
say,
made that he didn't make.
say, "This is my son, in whom I am well pleased."
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
Jesus, incarnate Jesus, walking the earth, is the Son of God, the Son of Man. That was the whole point. But it's not.
Now, when Jesus
it wasn't
prays,
a
who's he praying
figure.
to? Because he's not praying to himself, right? He's praying to God.
This is a very important question. It's a very good question. He's praying to God the Father for the physical flesh that he was in to bear the strength that he needed to, because the flesh, even though he was 100% God, he was 100% man, and he was the archetype for us to understand that while we're walking here, even though our souls belong to God, even though we give our souls and spirits to Christ, that we have to be in constant connection with the Father to overcome the flesh that we live in, the sin that we're born into. So he was in constant prayer for his flesh, for his body, to keep it in line so that he can bear the perfection up until the point of sacrifice. So
And
that
who
his
sits on the
sacrifice
right
can
hand of
have
God?
worth. The man Jesus.
Okay,
All right,
that's
so I'm
that's
gonna
what
throw-
was explained. That
I'm
the
gonna
man
throw something
Jesus.
into both of y'all.
Okay,
And this is going to answer Josh's thing, and this is going to answer. So listen, all right. Jesus Christ being born in Bethlehem, that Jesus was essentially God's salvation for humanity.
Mm-hmm.
God had to allow himself to feel human, right? The Jesus that's wrestling with Jacob cannot be overcome. The Jesus in the New Testament, if somebody's a pretty strong guy, he can be. He was beat and overcome, right? He's not like super
because
strong.
he allowed it.
The Jesus
because he
here,
allowed it.
yeah. Well, some people say because he allowed it. I like to look at it. He was a man that got tired as well. He was a man, like a man in every sense of the word. Whereas over here, it's Jesus coming down in a pre-incarnate form, just basically touching base with humanity here and there and having flesh. But that's because God breaks every rule.
Yeah, but the
that God
divine
wants to
man
break.
that Jacob was wrestling with kind of cheated and completely took out his hip.
But it wasn't really cheating. It was, there's a message there.
Tell me what that is.
There is a message.
If I
There-
take
no,
away
there's a
your
message
ability
there.
to move.
No,
Yeah,
but
I didn't do enough research
No.
on the whole hip thing.
no,
Should have.
there is a message there, right? Because he's wrestling for a blessing, right? And then he gets touched. He puts his hip out of joint, and that's whenever he start saying, "I will not let you go unless you bless me." It's it's God testing him to see,
How far he's willing to go.
how far he's willing to go. Like how far? What is this metal?
I get
metal.
that.
Mettle.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's what the message is there, but it's not like God needed to cheat to win. He was wrestling for hours and he wasn't getting anywhere. It was just, he just kind of like placating him, right?
Yeah, it's also maybe a representation that no matter how hard you try, at the end of the day, God, even if you think that you can beat God, God will immobilize you. So at the end of the day, God is in control of it all.
God is in control of it all. And honestly, that's really my only greater meaning for this whole episode.
Oh, are we going right into that? Okay, let's go into it. All right, greater meaning. Tell us, Andrew, what is your greater meaning?
I mean, that was pretty much it. God is in control.
That's it.
Yeah, I don't even. I mean, I've said pretty much everything else I want to say on Jacob and his struggles and how I found the beauty in the fact that Jesus was there. So this is one thing I'll bring up and to my greater meaning, right? Jacob,
Don't you straight up add 30 minutes of dialogue after our greater meetings. All right. This is your greater meaning.
All right. So you guys inspire me sometimes.
Yeah, I want to punch you, dude. Like, no, that's all I have to say. Go ahead, Josh and Nathan.
When God says, I'm going to bless you, and he gets the blessing from Isaac, or Jacob gets the blessing from Isaac, and God blesses him. He says, I'm going to keep you. I'm going to watch over you. I will bring you back safely, right? Jacob has this moment where he makes his contract with God, and at there he says, if you will bless me, if you will increase, if you will make sure I have clothes on my back, I will serve you. And God says, all right. And Jacob has these moments throughout where he goes, where he has visions and dreams. Like, for example, he sees angels and here, and he sees angels there and speaking. He says, oh, God is in this place and God is in this place. He keeps attributing these angels and this presence, design presence, to specific landmarks and places, when really I believe that they were with him everywhere he went. And it wasn't a matter of like, oh, they were just over there in that field. That's where the ladder of heaven comes up and down. But I think that everywhere Jacob went, God is with him, and angels of protection are with him, and his blessing is with him. And when God blesses you, doesn't matter where you go, doesn't matter what you encounter, doesn't matter what obstacles and struggles that you face. If you put your trust in God, God will prevail. That's what Israel means, right? God prevailed. God prevails. That's the name that he gives and attributes to the nations of his people and separates. And God is with you wherever you go. David says, even if I make my bed in hell, you are with me. And there's nothing to fear, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I see in the greater meaning behind the story. Like Jacob is struggling at home. He's struggling at work. He's struggling at it, trying to go to his hometown. He's struggling, with his own understanding of what this whole life is and what blessing means. And he just wants peace. He just wants blessing. He just wants to be accepted for who he is. He wants to stop having to struggle and having to be something that he's not. And God meets him there in his most vulnerable moment, as he meets all of us there. And he holds us, and he's, and at the end of the day, he's the one that wins. We just have to allow ourselves to submit to him. And that's my greater meaning.
Joshua.
My greater meaning, even after whatever. So my greater meaning is basically, I'm going to get into the whole Laban and the idols. God did so much in that family's life. You had Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And even with Abraham and Lot, there's the story of Sodom and Gomorrah, and multitudes hear about that story, and they know of the God of Abraham, and Nahor being Abraham's brother. Even Laban refers to the God of Israel, basically also as the God of Abraham and the God of Nahor, my father. So Laban knows of this God and knows how strong and how powerful this God is. And even through all of that, he still chose to have these idols in his life that he put to such a high extent that he doesn't, when he goes and searches for Jacob, he doesn't care about anything else but where are my gods? Where are my idols? So even in our life, God has done so much for us. And I'm sure that if you can recount, or if you have written of miracles in your life, which some Christians and some believers, they write these miracles that happen on even sometimes on a daily basis, and they write it down so they won't forget. But if you go through a hard time and go through your book, and then you realize all these things that God has done for you and all these things that God has brought you through, and then you stop relying on these worldly things, these worldly idols. That's how we are. Sometimes we are so dependent on our phones and so dependent on money and so dependent on all these things, these earthly things, that we put them in front of God, before God. And we put God in a box, and we have these limitations on God, and it's like, oh, there's no way. And man, even from my personal experience, even through lately, it's like I wasn't getting any jobs recently. I'm a contractor, so I wasn't getting any jobs recently. I was like, man, how am I gonna fill this next week up with jobs? And all of a sudden, just randomly, I'm not really paying for leads or anything, and all of a sudden all these people, these contractors and these customers are hitting me up, and I'm getting jobs left and right. I don't know what to do with myself, and I don't even have the manpower to take care of all of them. So it's like God will take you through these impossible areas so that he can show you who he really is, that we shouldn't be reliant on these earthly things, and stop putting God in a box and start to trust him. So that's my greater meaning.
Well, you heard Andrew's, you heard Josh's, who essentially took what I was going to use for my greater meaning.
You love to go last.
So now I have to
talk about the mandrakes.
Come up with I don't have to talk about mandrakes. I mean, so I'll just kind of focus on the fact that Jacob
me personally, I struggle with believing that Jacob was so hard pressed, right? I mean, yeah, he found a guy whose wives, I mean, the guy was kind of shady and made him work a little bit for his wives, but the man was blessed over blessed. And it's funny because when he gets to the point where he's wrestling with God, he's like one of the wealthy, he's like so wealthy and has so many kids. And by all accounts, from an outwardly appearance, everybody else looks at him and says, that man's blessed. And the man, and he wrestles with God all day and is like, I won't let you go until you bless me. But like the world thought he's blessed, right? So everybody else thought he's blessed. And then I ask myself, like, why? Why did Jacob feel, no matter how much he had, that he wasn't blessed? And I kind of equated to the fact that he knew that a lot of the stuff that he did was like backhanded. He got his blessing in a backhanded way. He is kind of deceitful in a sense by nature, right? Even the stuff he did with the sheep, he made sure to do stuff. Now, granted, God still allowed him to be blessed because when God says something, he fulfills his promise, right? But even Jacob knew in his heart that because of the backhanded nature of what I did, I'm not a truly blessed man. And maybe he couldn't sleep. Maybe he was struggling because he knew that, man, I'm supposed to be the father of nations and I'm sitting here doing all this backhanded stuff. What kind of a man am I? I'm supposed to know this God Almighty that takes care of everything, yet I always have to make sure to do my own little thing to make sure things get fulfilled. And he struggled with that, and he knew that's not the right way to be. So when he had his opportunity to finally meet face to face with God, that's whenever it's like the breaking point. Like, I'm flawed, please. And when I see him say, bless me, it's more like I hear him saying, give me some peace, man. Like, stop. Like, I suck. I'm a terrible person. Change me. I need to change. Because, I mean, honestly, the guy was blessed in a sense, right? But then he's asking, I'll not let you go unless you bless me. And the Lord just answered him, what is your name? And he said, Jacob. The Lord then wasn't like, okay, I'll bless you. The Lord didn't say that. He just said, what is your name? He said, Jacob. And then he's like, your name shall no longer be Jacob, but Israel. That was the blessing. That change right there. The change from Jacob, the backhanded guy that tried to connive his way into, God's blessings, to Israel, who is truly the father of nations. You struggle with God, you struggle with men, and have prevailed. That's what the blessing was. God changed him. He was born again. And that's my greater meaning.
That was good.
I'm not going to add anything to that. I'm just going to keep it right there.
I just want to give a little bit of the things that I said about Jesus being the Son of God and God being like that whole thing. I want to reiterate that was a conversation that I had with somebody else. Those aren't really my beliefs, but those are questions that are important, and sometimes we need to ask those questions. We need to figure things out on our own because each relationship with Christ is different. But at the end of the day, the foundation still has to be the foundation. And sometimes we can't just accept blissfully, right, what is presented before us, right?
Yeah,
it's
I
this
totally
is
agree.
left, this is right. But what if somebody's lying to us? So you got to know your Bible. You got to know who your God is so that nobody can come in and start giving you little sweet things here and sweet things there and try to mess with it and perverse things. Like how you even said earlier, a lot of things with prosperity gospel. There are a lot of things that if you don't know your Bible, you can get tricked on.
Yeah, it's really important to ask questions, and a lot of the topics and the point of views that we will bring or explore, again, just like Josh said, wouldn't be his personal point of view as much as it's something that maybe we spoke with somebody else and they people have these questions. People, not everybody's born in a Christian family or, grows up with a Bible and reads. Even if you are born in a Christian family, not everybody dives through the stories as deeply as we have. Like, I've never paid attention to mandrakes before.
Even if you dive through the Bible, you're just dumb and don't understand anything.
There's things that pop up, and you should always be ready in every season to give an account for the reason of your hope.
Like, what is the name of God?
Lots of names. And he refused to answer there. He didn't tell them. He just said, I'll tell you what, I'll change your name because my name is Jesus, but I can't tell you that
yet. Your kids will know.
But at the end of the day,
they're going to kill me.
Share your greater meaning with us and ask your questions. We'd love to hear from you guys directly, not just individually. Email us at greatermeaningpodcast@gmail.com. That's greatermeaningpodcast@gmail.com. I'm sure we missed stuff. I'm sure that we covered things. I'm sure you probably know more significant reason behind why he touched his hip and shrunk the muscle and why Israel no longer eats the muscle that from, any animal. There's a lot of stuff, and we want to hear from you, and we, just thank you so much for listening in this episode. We're really excited
Nathan,
to continue to move forward.
What? Normally you kind of say something about merch.
Oh, I don't say anything about merch. Nathan does.
So here's the 411 on the merch.
Yeah,
it's coming.
It's
I don't know when, and I don't know where, but it'll come eventually. This merch thing. I've been dreaming about this since Well,
we're 15 episodes in. I think it's about time we had something.
We need to start having merch.
I've had people ask
socks.
me, and we really appreciate
socks.
All right, but for real though, we're gonna have some merch. So I gotta talk to my guy.
It's gonna be
to see can we just do that merch? But he wants something called the money.
Oh yeah.
So for us to get the merch.
No, it's all right. We're gonna be moved forward. That options for people to be able to get. We'll have a website up pretty soon. Man, we're really excited. We've had a lot of positive feedback. A lot of people have been continuing to download, and we've been increasing in follows. Share us with your friends. Continue to share us if you like what you hear and you want to support us. Give us a 5-star review. Share us with people that you know. Give us shout us out on social medias. Yeah, really important.
Yeah.
All right, guys, I love you.
Really lackluster ending there, but yeah, it's really hot in this room.
I love you guys, but I love AC more.
Nathan's AC unit's really loud, and we turn it off for this podcast.
Oh,
and
man, it's so.
Do you
hot
hear it
right
turn
now.
on? Goodness gracious! Please turn it to like 61.
I'm blasting it now. It's so
All
hot
right.
here.
Have a good one, everybody. Thank you for listening.
Join us next week for a very, very fun episode. There's going to be, we're close to getting to like Joseph actually, and these other famous, and then after Joseph comes Moses, and we're getting to a really exciting part of the Bible, and this episode was a lot of fun.
We're about to get to Egypt.
Oh, dude, this is going to be great.
Okay, say bye.
Can't wait to see
Normally
you guys
when you
with
say
the-
bye to somebody,
Bye.
you stop
Bye.
talking.
Goodbye. I love you. Bye.